Hey guys, welcome to Off Field, brought to you by Trusted American Mortgage. Boom!
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, ho, ho! We're back.
Jolly
We're back. The band is back together.
Yeah, we missed Nate
if
last
you will.
week. So much.
Yeah, I missed you guys. How are you guys
No,
doing?
you didn't. It was a nice break, wasn't it?
No, I watched you guys. I mean, I was sitting in a weird hotel room.
That's how much fun he was
Watching
having.
us is way different than actually being in the room with.
But I missed you guys
We missed you too. a lot.
because, and we're just going to get right into it.
Let's do it.
All right, we're not going to dilly-dally around, no small talk here. Because there was, you guys referenced a tweet that I made.
Oh, he's defending himself.
It's
Top of
not
the
that I want to
show.
have the conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you guys were like, yeah, we agree, it's not going to happen.
But you said could
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
Not will.
My
happen.
tweet was that the Broncos can win the Super Bowl.
They can.
Okay. And I didn't really get to come on and defend my premise.
We did that on purpose. We're like, let's air out his dirty laundry while he's not here and cannot defend himself.
My dirty X account.
Yeah.
But I want to get into that.
Okay.
Because you guys don't believe it's going to happen. Don't believe it can happen. I want to get your
I
arguments
think
right.
that
before-
was the way we said it. Was it can happen because they're going to be in the playoffs. And
How do you know they're going to be in the playoffs?
I feel good about where they are as a team based on their schedule, based on their opponents, based on how they've been playing throughout the year and where they are health wise. Although I did tell her on Friday, and you may have caught that, I don't expect Riley Moss to play based on people I've talked to. There's a good chance we won't see Riley Moss until that Bengals game, whenever that is.
And I'll tell you, an MCL, I don't know how severe it was. Did it snap? Is it like a little too, because I tore my MCL and I spent 4 weeks rehabbing, but then I came back and it did not feel right.
I mean, they didn't put him on IR, so they're hoping, that maybe he was going to be ready ahead of time. They wanted to have that flexibility, I guess, or needed it, but it also affected, Josh Reynolds. And so maybe that's hoping that it'll heal faster.
Yeah, and Levi Wallace played like some dog doo-doo in that game. It was pretty bad. So they need to get some better cornerback play.
And Sean talked about Chris Abrams' drain today. We can get into what some of the stuff Sean got into too. So,
but you think they're going to win they think they're going to make the playoffs, and then they get into the playoffs, and then anything can happen, right? Anything can happen, but you think that it's pretty unlikely that they would go all the way.
we've never seen a rookie quarterback get to the Super Bowl, and so there's a first time for everything. There's a lot of things Bo Nix is doing.
Does Bo Nix, could he be the first rookie to make it to the Super Bowl? Does
He's
he have
always-
what it takes?
He could be, or Jaden Daniels could be, and then if not,
Would they meet in the Super Bowl?
that would be unbelievable.
The rookie
Could you
bowl.
imagine
the Rookie Bowl. Well, so this isn't apples to apples, but we'd never had a home team host the Super Bowl, and then we had it twice in back-to-back years with veteran quarterbacks that had come into a brand new
So
situation.
you're saying the Saints might make a run at this thing?
I don't think the Saints are making a run at this, despite maybe
Saints are
playing a little
garbage.
better. They have played better under Darren Rizzi for whatever reason. They responded. No, but we'd never had it, and then we finally had it. So could this be the year that one of those two gentlemen leads their team to the Super Bowl? I don't love their chances based on the way the league, their opponents in each conference are, but I guess it could happen. And not only would we have the first rookie, we'd have two rookies. That would be wild.
Yeah. I honestly think it's not a matter of, I think the Broncos have what it takes when you're just looking at them alone. They have what it takes to go to the Super Bowl this year. I feel confidently about that. Their offense finally in a good spot. Defense has been phenomenal. I think it's more of what the other teams, the Broncos are good enough to make it to the Super Bowl, but there are just other teams
That
that
are
I
gooder.
trust more.
That are
They're
gooder.
gooder. The other teams are gooder. Yeah.
Here's where my kind of thinking came in. Okay,
Okay.
because I was on the sideline for the Browns game in my capacity as uniform inspector.
Karen, aka.
That's right.
Mhm.
But in my capacity as uniform inspector, I get to walk really anywhere I want. So I walk all around the field, and I'm on the other team sideline. I'm on theirs, and
Stands right in the middle of the field and is like,
yeah,
look at me,
like, get off
everyone."
the you get
Hey,
off
fix
the
your
field.
socks, and then
Yeah,
he does a
that's
little
right.
dance. Makes it about himself for a second.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's good.
But I was actually quick aside, kind of startled to see all the well-respected coaches that were on the Browns sideline. Like Jim Schwartz is the defense coordinator. Mike Vrabel was on their sideline.
He's
as
a
like
consultant.
A consultant, like Deuce Staley is like their running back coach. They had a lot of really good coaches there with a lot of experience. And so this was actually a team that was ready for that fight. And you know,
And
Broncos,
they were.
yeah, they were. They took it to the Broncos, and the Broncos had to give them, you know, everything they had. My thinking was that the Broncos believe that they're going to win now, and they're finding ways to win as a team. So, is your running game? Could your running game be stronger? Sure. Could you be more accurate or a little more consistent in the passing game? Sure. Do you not want to give up so many yards like they did to Jameis Winston on defense?
Oh
Sure.
my God. It was like Jameis Winston's best and worst game all
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah,
It was
you got the full
insane.
Jameis experience.
Yeah,
Again
literally.
yesterday.
But ultimately, they found a way to win. The energy is like on fleek. Do they still say that?
Did you just say their energy was on fleek?
I did. Do they still say that, Liv?
No.
What do they
They
say now?
don't.
Well, you said what's that coach's last name? Riz
Darren Rizzi.
Oh.
Oh, Riz.
Their energy was on Riz.
No, that's not where you would use it.
How
Their
would you say-
energy was on. Their energy was OD.
Overdosed.
Just OD.
Okay.
I think
So-
when you say overdose, it makes it a little inappropriate. But when you just say like that was OD, it's like wow.
So it
that
was OD. It was OD, and you were
There
there.
you go.
You felt that, right?
Oh yeah,
So
the
my-
game was it was electric. I mean, obviously, any prime time spot you get to watch your home team playing, you're excited because the excitement was there. But there is also just a different energy amongst Broncos country that even Broncos fans now believe this Broncos team can win. And the Broncos are also playing, to your point, like they can win. And so it was electric. The game altogether, despite it, even if it would have been a blowout game by the Broncos, I still felt like the energy was the best I've seen in a while.
And I was on this team in 2005. We had a first round bye.
Mhm.
We ended up beating the Patriots at home and then playing the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. The Steelers were the 6th seed, and then there were only 6 teams from each conference. So they were the last seed. They had to go on the road for each game, and they went on the road and won each game, and they won the Super Bowl. Oftentimes, the team that gets hot at the end of the season is the team that ends up making a run. Now, sometimes it's the number 1 seed who gets the bye, like the Chiefs did last year. And the Chiefs, you're going to have to go through the Chiefs. But don't you think the
Chiefs.
Broncos feel pretty darn good about going back up to Arrowhead and playing them again? You think the Chiefs want to see the Broncos in the playoffs?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
And this is what makes me think that the Broncos have a path, because they're getting better. They're
Mhm.
gaining confidence. They're improving in the areas where they were weaker early in the season.
Yep.
They're finding ways to win. And if they do end up making the playoffs, they'll do so with some momentum and some belief. And I don't think, the Bills,
Some belief.
the Bills are not an easy out at all. You have to go there and win. But they did lose last night to the Rams.
That helped the Chiefs,
It-
who are getting locked into that 1
Yeah.
seed now. It
Yeah.
feels like they still have to
I
take care
am
of business.
so effing sick of watching Chiefs games right now.
Would you rather
The doink in. I mean, what the hell is going on? I need a Broncos player ASAP with the most swiftness, no pun intended. I need a Broncos player with the most swiftness to go intercept Taylor Swift so we can get some of that voodoo magic in the Mile High City, because what the hell is going on?
maybe someone can start dating like Sabrina Carpenter and see what that.
Ooh!
I don't think that's
There
the
you
star
go.
power.
I did
is
see a
similar there.
post
Britney Spears,
from Bo
maybe.
Nix's wife.
If so,
Beyonce.
yeah.
Well,
Oh.
Beyonce's from Houston, and she's actually singing at the halftime of the Texans Christmas game on Netflix.
Well,
Well,
Which you may
congratulations,
or may not be able to.
Beyonce.
You
well
may or may not-
cool.
You may or
Yeah.
may not be able to watch it depending on how the buffering situation is with NFL games on Netflix on Christmas Day.
Who's singing at halftime of the Super Bowl?
Kendrick Lamar.
Oh,
among
Kendrick
others.
is.
I don't think
Ooh,
they've been.
Drake's gonna be so mad. What if Drake came out and they did a song?
They
together?
might. There's no way
And then
Kendrick
it
Lamar.
ends in
squash
a WWE Smashdown.
There's no
That
way.
would be fleek.
There's
That would
no.
be fleeky
There's
for
no
sure.
way that Kendrick Lamar does the whole 11, 12-minute solo. There's definitely going to be
Oh yeah.
one or two
It's
cameos.
actually me.
But I saw where I believe Bo Nix's wife posted that she was 9 weeks pregnant
What?
with twins.
Stop.
I saw that.
I also saw a rumor that Claire Kittle is pregnant with twins and Sierra is pregnant with twins. So I don't know.
Whoa.
That is, again, I saw someone talking about it and I was like,
Twins.
I got to make sure that this isn't from
Well,
like
Bo
butt
Nix's
crack
wife
sports.
denies the rumor. So
Denies the rumor that she posted it on her own social media. Or what is it?
this is all yesterday. The rumor about the upcoming big announcement.
Oh
It
my
says
gosh.
fake
How annoying
news,
would that have to
fake
be?
news.
Like, as there's perks that come with being in that spotlight, but how annoying that rumors are made up about you and your very personal life and their children. Like, that's a very personal thing.
I've
There's
been
nothing-
asked a million times if I'm pregnant just because I was eating good and gained
What?
some weight. Oh yeah.
What, like people online or in real life?
Oh, online.
Yeah.
Like I'll post a picture in like a dress and they're like, "Ooh, what's that I see?" I'm like, "Chipotle, you ass." I was hungry. Don't be rude. But no, I mean I have heard some rumors swirling about. I will tell you, in being very close with Brandon Jones's wife, Bree, I send out all my love and my wishful thinking to all these NFL wives because there really isn't a great time to have a baby. Like there is a very short window where they almost have to time it perfect. Like this is where I need to have a newborn because my husband will be available to help me more. But when they travel, I mean, they're gone. They stay in hotels nights.
So
before
what is the
games.
window that they're saying would be good? In the
I think
off-season?
ideally you'd pop out your baby right before the off season, if not very start of the off season.
Yeah.
And
basically try to get pregnant
have a
during
little-
the season.
Well, what if you
Yeah.
thought the team was going to suck, and so you thought your offseason was going to be like
and
January,
then they're Super Bowl
and
champs.
then there's Super, and so the
No, I
your
just think
husband
it's
has to
hard for these
choose.
women that are trying to
Oh, yeah.
like start families with their partners that play in the NFL. It's like you guys know your parents that it's tough to do that job alone. So I think there's that fear of like,
Yeah.
I want to have kids, but when is a good time to have kids if your husband's in their prime of their NFL career right now?
There's
you know,
reference
that's
here. I
tough.
think happened right before Halloween. She posted just a simple tweet, Lioness, and he wrote, "I'm ready when you are. We can call him Cinco
Oh my
because it'll be
gosh.
kid number 5."
Cinco.
There he goes. There he goes.
Sinko.
Back to your
Later,
point.
that's what
Back to your point about the Broncos in the Super Bowl. I think it's just when you watch other teams, even in the AFC, a lot of things are going to have to go right for the Broncos because we do know when you're a really great football team, as much as it pisses me off to watch these crazy things happen to this Chiefs team in order for them to stay on top of the AFC, it drives me insane. However, good things tend to happen for really great football teams, and we know this. So I guess it's less about the fact that I don't think the Broncos have what it takes to have a path to the Super Bowl. It's more the teams that they may run into have a better chance, in my opinion. So it's just going to be tough. Now, to say it's impossible would be a lie.
So let's
it's absolutely possible.
Let's just look at your week 1 opportunities. We know that you still have to play the Chargers, so you don't know if you're going to finish 5, 6, or 7, and the Ravens or Steelers will be one of those other 2 teams.
Right.
The Broncos are playing the Chiefs here in that final game that the Chiefs may still need because they drop one between here and there just to hold off the Bills because the Bills have that tiebreaker if the Bills now win out or are set to win out. But if you're the Broncos, regardless of what happens in that final game, would you rather go to Kansas City in week 1 if the Chiefs end up losing that top spot? So would you rather go to Kansas City in week 1, Buffalo in week 1, Pittsburgh, which again, I will swear will be the Monday night game to cap wild card weekend. You can almost guarantee it, Broncos, Steelers, or Baltimore, knowing that you can go to Houston and probably win. Like I'll concede that.
Probably pick Chiefs.
Okay.
It's not a long trip. It's
They-
right up the
They
road.
had a competitive fight against
They
that
would
team.
have played them the previous week. But I've been on a team where we went. So
The Colts?
yeah. So we went in to Indianapolis in week 17, which is the last game of the year. I'm sorry, 2 weeks before the last game.
Mhm.
We beat the brakes off of the Colts. We beat them really bad in Indianapolis. Locked up our playoff chances. Rested our starters the next week. I was on the practice squad that year, and that next week. It was a game in Green Bay against the Packers. The Packers needed to win to make the playoffs, and we rested a bunch of our starters, and I got activated and got to play in that game. That was my first ever regular season game. So it was against the Packers who needed to get in, and then a bunch of us who just got pulled off the practice squad. We got beat pretty bad. But anyway, we went back to Indy the following week in the opening round of the playoffs after having just whooped them at home, and we got the brakes beat off of us bad.
41-10.
Was that all?
Peyton Manning, he did have 4 incompletions, which is
4
one less than
incompletions?
his 5 touchdown passes.
I think that was the game that Brandon Stokely fell down and then got up and then just
Stokely had 4 catches for 144 yards and 2 scores. Edgerrin James, quiet day. He only had 78 yards on 17 carries. Clinton had 68 for y'all. Rod, 5 catches, 66. Touchdown. Jake was actually not terrible, but 2 INTs.
Yeah.
23 of 80, 181, 1 score. That one to Rod, but the 2 INTs certainly didn't help. They outgained y'all 479 to
What's Nate Jackson's
322.
numbers on there?
Shoot.
See how Nate played
I had a
that
couple good
game.
blocks.
Woo!
Let's go.
Yeah.
I got in at the very end of the game. We were down 41-10, and like everyone was just trying to get out of there. And I was ready. I wanted blood. I wanted some action. So we're just trying to run the ball out, and I'm going down this laying out for blocks, and the safeties are like, "What are you doing, man? The game's over."
Charlie Adams.
I'm like, not for me.
Charlie Adams had 2 catches for 18 yards.
Oh, good.
Shout out Charlie Adams. So not only did Snake have the 2 picks, he also lost a fumble. So that's 3 turnovers
Oof,
there. That
Yeah.
hurts.
So anyway, it's not always great playing a game really team late in the season and then beating them and feeling good about yourself and then going to their house again. I would say the question you posed there, probably the Chiefs or the Steelers.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, because the Steelers, you obviously kind of went toe to toe early. Both offenses weren't where they are now. Russ wasn't even on the field. Both defenses, are going to be good.
Maybe Sean Payton can sit on the sideline and like look at Russ and like get in his head and make him feel all creeped out and spooked.
How about Russ, guys?
I'm proud of him.
Right? I mean,
I'm super proud of him.
that team is 10-3. He's only probably lost 1 game since they've taken over, right?
That Browns game in the snow.
Yeah, the Browns game is snow. So what is he? 5-1.
He's balling out a little bit, isn't he?
Does that look?
Does that look bad for the Broncos?
Is that right? Let
Does
me
it look
double
bad
check
for the
that.
Broncos? Or does it look bad for Russ that he didn't play better here?
I think it looks bad for the Broncos
I
because
agree.
it's easy
I
when a player
agree.
has success somewhere else. You're like, well, it didn't work there. It wasn't his fault. Look at him playing well again.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I think the Broncos,
What-
it looks worse for the Broncos.
but what
than
makes
does
it
for him.
trickier is that Bo Nix is playing well, and this Broncos offense is also thriving compared to where it was last year.
Mhm.
With Bo Nix and with a quarterback running the offense the way Sean Payton is calling it, as opposed to
It'd be like if you had a breakup and both partners end up going and thriving somewhere else. It's like, no hard feelings. It just didn't work between us. We grew apart. Like, we're good. So I kind of feel that way. If the Broncos were absolute garbage this year and Russ were popping off, I think it would hurt a little bit more for Broncos country. But we're in a better spot. He's in a better spot. It's actually funny, you guys. I was very proud of Debo on our show because typically I have the mic for most of the show and I'm asking questions because he's still kind of getting familiar with the whole podcasting thing and talking about himself and his team for a full hour.
Is he
Like,
getting
it's
better?
hard. He's getting so much better. He has grown so much and he and I just have a really great time. But he actually turned it on me. We were talking about the Monday Night Football game between the Broncos and the Browns, and he does a State Farm bundle of the week, and one of his plays was Jerry Jeudy. That was one of his this guy had a great week. Let's talk about him. And I'm talking and I'm like, yeah, and another player. And his other one was actually Russell Wilson. I'm like, 2 former Broncos that went somewhere else and are thriving. And he's like, well, let me ask you, Liv. Puts me on the spot mid-show. We're live, folks. I can't run from this. He's like, were you one of those fans when Jerry Jeudy left that you were all excited because you didn't like Jeudy and you wanted to? And I go, well,
Yes, I was.
I said, let's just say this. I'm very happy for him now. He goes, no, that's not what I asked. Were you one of those fans? I go, yes, I was. Go search through my Twitter. But I will say, I did tell Debo in that moment, so much of what I didn't like about Jerry Jeudy was kind of the attitude and just the energy that he brought sometimes, and maybe like the lack of accountability. There were moments where I felt like he was maybe a little Jamal Murray-esque, where it was like, you're not doing your part, but you've got all these negative feelings and these things to say and this attitude about you, but you're also part of the problem. And we never really heard Jerry Jeudy say that. I think it was just, he kind of bought into the Russell Wilson is a scapegoat sort of situation, in my opinion. But yeah, he flipped the question on me and was like, were you one of those fans that was excited when he left? I was like, low-key, yeah, I kind of was. But I can also be happy for him thriving now. So
yeah, the begs the question: would the Broncos be having the success they're having now
No.
with Jerry Jeudy still on the team?
no,
maybe because
And where would these young receivers be fitting in? Where would Devon Vele fit in?
I think that this
Where would
Broncos
Marvin
team,
Mims fit in?
this Broncos team needed a refresh. And I think Jerry Jeudy, he more than any other player on the Broncos, in my opinion, carried that losing energy with him, just kind of like that sulky, and I get it. Like, being an athlete, being competitive, wanting to win and then not winning, got to be frustrating, especially when it's happening over and over and over again. But I think he carried too much of that losing stench with him that I don't think we'd be as successful if he was still a part of this receiver room. I don't think so at all. That's just my opinion, though.
what's interesting is nobody considered Jerry a bad teammate or thought that he was
No, they all
really,
liked him.
really a malcontent. It was funny though, like talking to him right at trade deadline time, and he's like, I thought I was going to get traded last year or in the offseason. If I get traded, no big deal. If I'm here tomorrow, great. You know, you kind of, that was basically, I'm paraphrasing, but He didn't care if he was getting traded, and he didn't mind if he was staying, but was certainly open to being traded. And so I think that his frustration, and yes, he dropped passes that hit him in the hands a couple times, but the amount of times, if you were to look over the 4 years that he was here, he was just running wide open and not getting the ball
Definitely.
thrown away.
I
that
should,
fed into his frustration.
for sure.
But no one in that locker room thought that, oh, he's got to go or he's the reason we're losing.
There's some context too to the idea of running wide open, because sometimes they're not looking at you on this play because the defense is dictating it's going to the side. And so you want to run a cool little stutter double move over here and get wide open and have everyone see you running open so you can raise your hand and be like, oh, I'm open. Well, you knew they weren't looking at you on this play because they were in cover 2, buddy. And on cover 2, we go to the other side.
Right.
So there was some of that. Also, Jerry Jeudy's routes are really good, but sometimes he takes a long time to set them up. So if he's doing his moves off the line and it's taking too long, the quarterback's going to move off of him and go to the next guy. So I think there's some things that Jerry has had to learn in the first couple of years of his career.
I think he lacked maturity a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it was very me, I, where he's like, I am wide open. Why aren't you getting me the ball? But then it's right. But then when he does get the ball, he's dropping it. It's like, whoa. Why are you? So don't be pissed the next time you're open if when you did get an opportunity, you didn't capitalize off of it. But also, there's so much more to football than just being open
and catching the football. He had 5 catches in the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So how many plays is he on the field? Maybe 50. What are you doing for the other 45 plays, Jerry? Because you guys lost to the Steelers and you keep losing wherever you go. Are you blocking?
Mm-hmm.
Are you running your routes the right way that creates the decoy when the other guy is actually going to get the ball? Or are you pouting over there? So there's a reason why LJ Humphrey's on the field. He's a starter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they cut Josh Reynolds. It's because of the physicality in the running game and the blocking that these guys are doing.
Yeah.
Although Josh Reynolds, I think, was a better blocker than you would think looking at his physical stature, just how slender he is. Sean Payton was asked about Josh Reynolds because the first time that we've talked to him since they made that move. And he said, hey, I really want to thank Josh. He was a professional. We couldn't figure out how to get him back. We wanted him back. I'm not sure that's 100% true based on some of the people that I talked to. But he was claimed, and I believe he's in Jacksonville now. But he said he's a big reason why we're here. It just became a numbers game and having to move guys around. And we're obviously getting some pretty good play from some of the young guys behind him. And so it just felt like the right move. And again, I'm kind of paraphrasing what Sean said, but he was quick to thank him. And it wasn't, the player moved on. And it wasn't, he wasn't a jerk about it. No one asked him about what the interaction was with he and Jerry Jeudy because it's already happened. And I don't know when we'll get a chance to talk to him about it, maybe in the offseason, off the record. But Jerry was asked what the interaction was with he and Sean at midfield postgame, and he goes, Jerry said, you can ask Sean.
What did they talk?
I think they were in each other's face.
Really?
In each other's face. I think Jerry, and video may exist out there. I
thought I saw someone say he said something like, I'll be back or something.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. Maybe I made that up, but I actually thought that it was something.
Terminator 2
like the Terminator.
No, I actually think I saw someone quote tweet, and again, people think the lip reading stuff is funny, but I did think I saw something. I can't talk today. Oh,
yeah.
Apparently this one is saying that he said, I told you I am like that.
Oh. I told you I'm like that. We knew he was like that.
He did say it just wasn't working over there.
I'll be back.
I felt like I was a way better player than they used me as. I wanted to go somewhere that would see my full potential and take advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't, right? I think with Jerry, the drops, the body language, the tantrums, he got in trouble off the field. You remember that? He got a domestic dispute. He got thrown in jail.
He took his girlfriend's phone, and there was issues with baby seats and all this stuff. There
was a property dispute that got pretty boisterous.
Was he violent with her?
Apparently not. But
no, I think he took her phone and either broke it or hit it. And
then there was
it in a car.
And then there was the tweeting about just dissatisfaction with the game and or at least I got my conditioning in and things like that. You just don't want your players doing.
Again, that's where the attitude piece comes in. Where I'm just like, come on, we didn't need to do all that. But again, happy to see him thriving, and obviously, it makes you wonder. Because the Monday Night Football game, I just keep flashing back to that because I was the last time that we watched the Broncos play football, which feels like decades ago. But if they would have started the season with Jameis Winston, do you think that this Browns team would be a playoff team? Because I think some of what we're seeing with Winston is him kind of growing through some Bo Nix wasn't perfect at the start of the season. There's a lot of quarterbacks that started rough that had to kind of have that those
6
in-game
of
changes.
Jameis's 11 INTs will come in the fourth quarter, and then he had
Yeah.
a strip sack fumble.
So Clutch
yesterday.
is not his middle name.
Not
No,
currently.
he can throw that ball though.
He can. That's what I'm saying. So what if
Yeah.
there was the ability to start, if the Browns had started with Jameis Winston and allowed him to kind of connect with this offense a little bit more, get some more reps in, play some more games, because again, I get it. He did have the interception at the very tail end of that Broncos game, but they went back and forth. So
Yeah.
it just makes you wonder, like, would the Cleveland Browns be a playoff team
think
if
it'd
they
be-
started with Jameis Winston instead of Deshaun Watson?
Maybe when you look at because they're still at 3-11 now or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Could they have won a couple of those games if Jameis is in there early on, just from the jump?
Because
and he's
Watson
the
was just
guy?
bad.
Yeah, he was horrible.
He was just bad.
I-
I mean,
His secret was out.
set aside all the off-field BS that he's got going on.
I think that's part of it.
He's
though.
just bad. He's just bad.
I think that's part of it. I think that was like City lost his mojo is not maybe the right way to say it, but he was the leading passer in the league in terms of yards and was a really, we thought, up and coming player. We saw how good he was at Clemson in Houston. And part of his weekly process, as perverse as it is, and as we think he paid lots of settlements, right?
Yeah.
That was part of what he did every week.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I'm not saying that's what made him a good player, bad player, but his routine has changed significantly. I understand that he has this beautiful girlfriend. They travel all over the world and all of that. And he's likely only has a single masseuse now in his life that's probably team approved, versus talking to 60 of them on Instagram and trying to get him to come to his house and all the things that were alleged and the settlement. So I'm not getting into the details of
A
it beyond.
single masseuse.
I'm simply saying that if you want to call it mojo, is certainly just non-existent. Last year he's battling through a shoulder injury. This year, before he got hurt,
He's had a lot of off-field distractions.
Yeah,
Let's put it that
it's
way.
hard
That
to
have
stay focused,
probably
yeah.
made it tough for him to focus on football. Whether he's innocent, guilty, I'm not getting into that because, to be honest with you, all that stuff just makes me want to puke when I talk about it. But at the end of the day, there were some off-field distractions with Deshaun Watson that probably contributed to him not being able to lock in and play good football. But he was bad. That's just the final. That's it. He did not look good.
I was kind of scrolling through in my head, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but like Jerry Jeudy looks kind of like a Pro Bowl type receiver. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler this year, but if a full year where he's really being used like this, could he make a Pro Bowl? I was just thinking about guys who their situation isn't great early in their career and they look like a disappointment, don't make a Pro Bowl, aren't anywhere near it, which is obviously what it was here, and then go on to a multiple Pro Bowl kind of career, borderline Hall of Fame career. Because the first name that popped in my head, the same position, was Chris Carter, who was a high pick of the Eagles. I want to say he was a first rounder out of Ohio State. He was drafted. I'm sorry, he was drafted in the middle rounds. But first year in Philly, just 5 catches in 9 games, 39 catches, 45. Then he goes to Minnesota. I guess he gets traded in the middle of that year or whatever it was, 27. Then it's like Hall of Fame career after that. Chris Carter was great. You could go through it forever, but sometimes is it just that restart after being a full-blown disappointment? Not like, oh, it ended badly. Like Randy Moss was awesome, and then it just kind of ended badly in Minnesota, and so he gets traded, and he gets traded again. But Randy Moss looked good. I'm saying where the guy looked like a full-blown bust and then went on to a thriving career.
Breaking news. Derrick Henry just got a little bit lighter on his feet, which means he might be a little bit quicker. He has cut his dreads off.
Completely.
He's entering a new era. Those are just braids. The dreads are in his hands.
Why would he do
When
that in the middle of the
starts.
season?
He's unlocking a beast mode, apparently. I don't know. Sometimes when these players do a new little hairstyle, you're like, ooh, what's
Or
going
they
on?
lose their mojo.
Yeah.
So
Samson
either
and,
way,
Delilah,
breaking
right?
news, Derrick Henry entering a new era. Is he entering a new, better era? Or
Wow.
did he just kill his mojo and his vibe? Dreads are off. Now he's just got some cornrow braids going on.
Well,
No
he's
more
trying to
dreads.
catch Saquon Barkley, and I don't think he's going to do it. Saquon Barkley leading the league
Popping
with
off.
1,623 yards on the ground. Derrick Henry has 1,400.
But you know what? That Eagles team right now, I hate seeing it. I hate seeing these really great wide receivers insinuating
Their quarterback
potential
sucks.
conflict with their quarterback or strong feelings about their quarterback.
What do you mean?
I think it's AJ Brown, when asked post game, what do you think this team needs to work on? He said passing. And when they asked him to double down on it, he just pretty much was like, no, that's it.
That doesn't
passing."
mean it's just the quarterback. It means his offensive line. It means the continuity. It means the plays that are being called. It means Why are you doing that?
What would you say, Nate, that Jalen Hurts currently needs to work on in order to be considered maybe the top five quarterback in this league?
Passing.
Bang. Bang! There it is. You know, and again, he probably was, maybe he was talking about other things when he said that, but when you say that, you know what the media is going to do with that. You know what Eagles fans are going to do with that. Now it kind of puts your quarterback in a position to maybe take a little bit more blame, even if it's not just Jalen Hurts' fault.
But
I just think it's
though.
a tough thing to say.
It's hard though when you have a running back like Saquon Barkley, who's
Get
playing
it.
as well as he is, to
Why wouldn't
also
you use him?
also make AJ Brown happy because he's like, he's making a ton of money. He's
That
making
is
more
a
than
very
everybody
tough
else.
thing
Yeah.
to divide and conquer your time on
Yeah.
a team like the Eagles right now when you've got a Saquon Barkley and you've got a quarterback that can run the ball.
Exactly.
So it's like I can understand.
And you're like 10-2 or whatever they are.
I get it.
AJ
But
Brown,
it does make me worried for like, are they starting to get is there starting to get a little bit of
and
locker room frustrations here?
Can their head coach, does he have the wherewithal to keep it all together? Because there's plenty of skepticism about Nick Sirianni, the head coach.
How though? Still,
just because of the weird stuff that he's done.
What has he done? That's weird.
Well, just game management stuff and communication and fighting with fans and
that shows he's got spunk, man.
AJ Brown,
guy.
4 catches on 4 targets yesterday, 43 yards. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 37 yards on 6 targets. Only 108 yards passing on 14 to 21 for Hurts. 2 TDs. They're both pretty short. No picks, but he was sacked 4 times. Conversely, they ran the ball for over 200 yards. Saquon had 124. Jalen had 59 of his own, including a short touchdown.
So when you're an
run.
AJ Brown, that very large discrepancy in ground game versus what Jalen Hurts is doing through the air, I'm sure it's frustrating.
It is, yeah.
But when you start to show people those I just think you kind of set yourself up for failure.
Teams want to be
when
balanced,
you let
though.
I get it.
31 runs, 21 pass attempts plus 4 sacks. That's 25 pass plays.
Mhm.
It's pretty close to balance. 31 runs to 25 passes.
And you're winning. You won.
Winning.
You won. You barely beat the Panthers, and I know there was a Xavier Legette drop at the end there that sealed it for you because
I thought that was a catch.
Yeah, hit the ground. But
I mean, until I saw that it clearly wasn't. But
so Rod Smith, a mentor of mine, is a receiver, but he talks about how he took more pride in Terrell Davis's 2,000 yards in a season than his own 100 catch season that he had. He and Ed McCaffrey both had 100 receptions in a season, which is not done very often in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't very good that year. The year that TD had 2,000 yards, they were good. When the running backs go off, you go off as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And Rod would talk about his pride in the running back success because he was out there blocking his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it takes. Not the unselfishness of a receiver not caring about his catches.
We, not me.
Yeah.
That's
and that's what these Broncos have, actually.
Cortland Sutton,
100%. That's their weapon, I think, actually.
Cortland Sutton sets that tone. I asked him after one of the games where he didn't score and it was a couple touchdowns for guys, maybe Nate Atkins, first of his career, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, how happy are you when you see your guys? And he gave a genuine answer. He's like, I love it. Now, Cortland's gone to a Pro Bowl. He had 10 touchdowns last year. He's got plenty of money. I think he knows who he is and knows who he isn't. And he's Pro Bowl this year, you would think, is very likely. But when he says stuff like that, then he has no catches against the Saints. And he's like, if they're going to play too high and we're going to run the ball today, that's fine with me. And so when your best receiver, in this case, one of your best players, sets that kind of tone, it trickles down to the team versus AJ Brown, who isn't their best player. Saquon is. I'm kind of not that surprised by where Jalen Hurts is, but I thought he had gotten to a point where we were going to be talking about him as a top 5 guy, and I don't even think we can call him a top 10 guy right now. So Saquon's your most talented. AJ's your second most talented player on offense, at least. And I can understand his frustration. Doesn't mean that he needs to voice it out loud. He should be talking to his receiver coach, who then talks to.
But there is a sense of, and maybe I sound stupid when I say this, but wouldn't it be kind of tough when you're just looking at passing stats? Wouldn't it kind of be tough to be a top 5 quarterback in passing yards when you have a Saquon Barkley?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that would mean you weren't using him enough.
Right. Like then you're almost, okay, let's say you get Jalen Hurts lighting it up through the air again. Then what a waste for Saquon, who's putting up MVP numbers right now. It's like, I kind of feel like it's a tough position for people to be so hard on Jalen Hurts at this moment. Like, I get it. He probably could find an AJ Brown or a Devontae Smith a little bit more in a game. But if you've got a Saquon Barkley and it's working and he's scoring and he's healthy, I don't really know if
He-
slinging the rock is really
Here are your
mandatory.
NFL passing leaders. Geno, who has nice running backs, but neither Zach Charbonnet or healthy Ken Walker are dominating. Kirk Cousins, same thing. We know that those guys got the two-headed monster, but they're not MVP candidates. Joe Burrow, Chase Brown's a nice player. Baker Mayfield's got those two running backs that are playing well. Stafford has Kyron Williams. Darnold has Aaron Jones and company. And then you get to Lamar, who's got 3,200 yards. Then Jared Goff has those two running backs.
That's what makes Lamar Jackson so insane to me.
Yeah.
You
and he's
have a
running the
Derrick
football, too.
Henry. He's also running the football himself, and he's
Yeah.
also through the air doing incredible things. So that's what makes Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, that much more insane. Is he doesn't really need to be a leader in passing yards this season because he has a healthy Derrick Henry that's doing just fine on the ground, but he's also through the air lighting it up. Like he's kind of covering every base here, which is great.
Talking about lighting it up and doing incredible things. How would you like to get through the holidays without having to make your mortgage payment? Sound cool, huh?
Light it up.
I
Go to-
love it.
That's how I feel.
Right?
Light it up.
Well, take yourself to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you refinance your home and not have to make any payments until February. That'd be pretty cool. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. And right now, they will cover your cost of appraisal, which is about a $650 value, guys.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Woo!
Go to trustedamerican.com or scan the QR code on the screen to see how much money they can save you today. Well,
Love it.
yeah, boom.
Love it. Fantastic. Really.
so-
Fantastic. Really.
So, guys, the Broncos didn't play this week, but there were some pretty good games.
I actually thought this was the most boring weekend of football.
What about 44-42? The Rams beat the Bills.
I watched that whole game just about.
That was a fun one. That was about the only one that was interesting to me, and the only reason that the Chiefs Chargers game was interesting to me because it was another example of the Chiefs winning with like the most
know.
insane way with the most insane luck on their side. Like I'm actually good on never watching the Chiefs play football again
You're
until
gonna
they
have
face my
to
Broncos.
watch 'em, though.
Yeah, until they face my Broncos.
You're not going to watch them in the playoffs.
See, I'm the opposite. I want to
Hell
watch
no.
Patrick Mahomes play every time I can. Not that he's lighting it up numbers wise. He's certainly respectable, but he's not throwing it all over the yard. And I still like their weapons. But
What is it that you like about them? Watching them,
I think they're boring.
I think they're a bit boring too.
Thank you. I think the Chiefs are boring.
I just think watching Mahomes' greatness right now and his ability to figure out ways to win or that his team keeps winning. Because Aaron Rodgers had been my favorite quarterback to ever watch for a bunch of years. That just the way he threw the football, the way he commanded the game. Mahomes has now surpassed him in terms of guys I look forward to watching. It was sort of, for a long time, I was fascinated by LeBron James. And it was so unique, so different. And it's not that Mahomes is so unique other than the efficiency and the effectiveness.
Yeah. I mean, he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I find the team as a whole,
I get that.
the Chiefs to me are probably the most boring winners in the league.
But it's methodical.
And the
right?
Bengals
They've
are the
turned
most
into the
talented
Spurs.
losers in the league. It's
They've-
not making a whole lot of
The
sense.
Chiefs have
this year.
turned into the Tim Duncan Spurs. Where they've got good players. They're going to win the game, but it's not going to be sexy.
It's almost like the Nuggets when they won the 2023 championship.
Yeah, although I guess because Mahomes is shown as a multiple-time MVP and obviously a Super Bowl MVP in all three that they won, if I'm not mistaken, we know that he can elevate to play like the best quarterback, even though he doesn't run the way Lamar or Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels might run. He's in the biggest moments played really well and made enough plays and plays the way like Joker plays completely different. That's, I guess, why I kind of made the Tim Duncan comparison in some ways is fair. He's a much better passer than Duncan was, obviously. But because he doesn't play like Giannis, which is something we talked about last night on our postgame, the reason the Chiefs are boring, I don't think is Mahomes' fault, other than
Absolutely.
he
not.
is accepting that they're going to run the ball, they're going to play good defense, and he doesn't have to do that much. The offense isn't
It's actually
demanding that he goes win the game.
When you think about it, like if you're just a fundamentally sound football team, you probably are boring.
Look at the Steelers.
Like if you're just doing what you need to do on both sides of the ball, everyone just shows up and does their job. It is boring football, which is why to me, yes, the Chiefs are winning games. They have Patrick Mahomes, but to watch them, it feels flat. It feels
I
dull.
will say this though, their offense doesn't light it up. They
I
scored
agree.
19 points
Yeah.
last night and had,
And look at the point differential when they do win.
yeah, they're not like Like to me,
Bored.
they're not a dominant team. They find ways to win, but every single game is close until the end.
Who's the most exciting team to watch right now? There's 2 correct answers.
Well, the Lions are one of them.
Lions are one.
Yeah. And the
Probably the
Broncos.
Ravens.
The Denver
They
Broncos.
got it. Broncos and Lions,
Oh,
honestly,
I
to
was
me.
going to say Ravens.
Yeah.
Lamar, Derrick Henry, and all that.
Are they falling off a little bit though?
They over the last couple of weeks, I feel like I haven't felt that spark
They
watching
didn't
the
lose
Ravens.
this week.
They're 8-5.
They did lose to the Eagles last week at home. So
Wait, they're 8-5.
Mhm.
Yeah. Same with the Broncos.
Same with the Chargers.
Same with the Chargers. That's why
Oh
it's
my
kind of
gosh.
all in front of the Broncos right now.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. He had a chance to help out the Broncos yesterday by beating the Dolphins. That was a good game. That went into overtime. The Dolphins beat the Jets. The Jets fall to 3-10. The Dolphins are still in the playoff hunt at 6-7. Tua playing pretty good right now.
Let's talk about the Jets. Wah, wah,
Well, he was saying
wah.
it was an audition, Aaron Rodgers' first game audition for next season. That's
Because we heard this week that they don't want him back. I
Yeah.
think. And
Oh.
so he's now auditioning.
Well, he's not
for
coming back
teams.
then if that was his audition.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
No, he said he played really well.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers wasn't the reason they lost.
It's never Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers'
oh, it's
fault.
not Aaron's fault.
He never is the
he's an
reason they lose.
enigma.
He is. Have y'all watched? I haven't watched the documentary yet.
Now, is it out?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I think.
No, I
You know
saw the
what's
preview.
you know what's just funny about the Jets to me? It's funny because if you would have asked me 2 seasons ago, would Aaron Rodgers be an upgrade from Zach Wilson? I would have been like, yeah, are you stupid?
27-39, 339 yards, 1 TD.
You can also wait until she finishes her comment.
He
Can't.
that's not Aaron Rodgers though. That's not like that's
One touchdown. Yeah.
What whoop do you do? We're
Almost
being
30
haters.
almost
Now we're
30
just
completions.
tapping into hater
Well, he
mode.
had 40 friggin' attempts.
But still close to 75%. Right? Isn't 27-39?
How many yards did you say? 2.
339.
Oh, okay. So he did have a good day.
Yeah,
Good
it's
game.
okay. And run after the catch. You know?
But did they win?
No, they
lost.
They were up. He leads them down to a go-ahead field goal. The defense then gives up enough yardage to allow a Jason Sanders, I want to say like 56-yarder, forces overtime. Dolphins get the ball in overtime and march right down and score. So it's hard to blame Aaron Rodgers on the loss when he leads them down for a go-ahead.
But you know
field
what I
goal.
do blame Aaron Rodgers for? Here's what I do blame him for.
There's plenty to blame him for. I'm just saying
When there was an opportunity for him to, like, yes, maybe in this overtime loss to the Dolphins, it wasn't Rodgers' fault, but there have been plenty of games prior to this where he should have taken more accountability and did not. Instead, he put his GM pants on and he said, "You're gone, you're gone, you're gone." I know that he's not the one making that call, but you have to understand Aaron Rodgers has a lot of control when it comes to how a locker room operates, the culture of a team. He wants Devontae Adams. Cool, let's get him Devontae Adams. We know this about Aaron Rodgers. So to me, yes, maybe he wasn't the reason for their loss against the Dolphins, but is this Jets team in a better position with Aaron Rodgers than they were with Zach Wilson? They're not.
Can I ask you a question, though? Let's fast forward to next year where the Niners aren't ready to give Brock Purdy any money. They don't have to give him money yet. If Aaron Rodgers wants to play a final year for his hometown team in the Bay Area and everyone's healthy again, Debo's still there, he's healthy, Ayuk's off the ACL, Christian's legs feel better, Trent Williams comes back for one more year because it's Aaron Rodgers, and the defense is healthy, and we know Bosa's health is not always, he's, I think, a little healthier than his brother, but they both miss games. Everybody's healthy. Are the Niners better with Aaron Rodgers next year than Brock Purdy?
I see what you're saying. I think it's enticing. I think that would be a disaster in the making, and actually it could cost Kyle Shanahan his job if it didn't work.
If it didn't work, but Kyle's also probably like, we can only get so far. And Kyle and John Lynch, and Kyle especially.
With Brock, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
but
think Brock's the problem.
what a slap in the face to Brock Purdy
Yeah.
that a 3-10 Jets
40-year-old
team with 40-year-old
enigma.
They were gonna
Grandpa
they wanted to
Rodgers.
bring in Tom Brady. They've kicked the tires on Tom Brady a couple times.
Okay, well,
Not
Tom Brady
right now.
went out with a bang. Aaron Rodgers is not going out
Tom
with a
Brady
bang.
went and won a Super Bowl.
Then lost.
Somewhere else. Peyton
Rodgers
Manning
is
went and won
playing
a Super Bowl.
hopscotch and not doing
Aaron
a
Rodgers
thing.
is a loser here, isn't he?
I'm not saying they're going to do this. I'm just trying to figure out landing spots where Aaron Rodgers would be willing to go. Because I don't think if
But you know how I see
Tennessee
it?
wants Aaron Rodgers right now, I don't see him going
Right.
to Tennessee.
But you know what? How I see it at this point in time, I think Aaron Rodgers, you've lost the ability to say, "I don't want to go there." You either go there or you pack
Or
it
you
up,
go
buddy.
home.
Well, but he's going to be a
Okay.
free agent, so he gets to decide: do I want to play in Tennessee to play one more year with Nicholas Westbrook-Akine and Brian Callahan calling the offense, maybe not. And although he does have a house in Nashville, it's worth noting.
Where doesn't he have a house?
Right.
Probably.
He's probably
probably got a
10 in
yurt
every
there.
freaking
This
city in
conversation
the
started
country.
before the show upstairs when I had read that headline at calling it an audition, but I had said, you know what would be a funny place for him to land next year would be New York with the Giants. So he didn't have to move, he didn't have to do anything. So he goes to the Giants, but Nate goes to the Niners, and the Niners is more intriguing because their team's sexier than the Giants. The Giants are a disaster right now. So you could get into the Giants game yesterday, and this is how coaches and GMs get fired. You could get into the Giants game. Guess how cheap it was?
$12.
Lower.
7.
Lower.
$3.
Lower.
$1?
You could get him for $1. I can show you all the tweet from StubHub. You can get for $1. You can get for $8. You can get for $8 all across the top. $1. Somebody was selling their seats, and
They just wanted the
had to
tickets
just be a
off their
joke,
name.
though. They're like,
They just wanted the tickets
Yeah.
off of their name.
Yeah.
Listen, here's
but
the
lots
thing.
of people selling it for $8 becomes less of a joke, and we're like, hey, can
Yeah.
we get anything for this?
When it comes to the Aaron Rodgers situation, you know, I don't love the inconsistencies in what he says and how he feels. If this season we're going swimmingly, which again is kind of common sense, if this season we're going swimmingly, he would be like, I'm here to stay. I love this. Now that he's starting to get a sense that maybe the Jets don't want him back, everything has to be on his terms. I want to go there, so I'm going there. I want Adams, so Adams is here. I'm not agreeing with
Robert
Saleh,
Saleh,
so
bye.
he's gone. Like, it's always on Aaron Rodgers flipping terms. To be honest with you, this man who has had an incredible run in the NFL, he's one of the greats when you're thinking about all the things he's accomplished and all of the things he's done. But in my opinion, 3-10 with the roster that you've got doesn't really give you much of a leg to stand on to be demanding what you do and don't want. I think it's getting to the point now where this was actually what I was worried about. Like, I don't want his resume, his accomplishments and the way people view him in this league to be tainted by this season, but it's going to be, in my opinion, because so many different people have been the scapegoat for this Jets team trying to figure out what's going wrong when, yes, he had a good game in overtime against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are also not a super great team right now, so I would hope he could do that.
Also, to say this about his game yesterday, in the fourth quarter, he had 3 drives and went 3 and out, got the field goal at the end there. But it wasn't like it was vintage fourth quarter Rodgers. 2 of those drives went for one was negative yards and one was 6 yards.
I'm going to throw 2 quarterbacks at you. First one has 66 completion percentage, 3,032 yards, so 3,032. 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. Second quarterback, 63 completion percentage, 2966, 20 touchdowns, 8 picks.
So you're asking who are they?
Yeah, I'll take Brock Purdy over Aaron Rodgers.
So Brock Purdy only has 15 touchdowns. They both have 8 picks. Brock has thrown for almost 100 more yards.
But can we
completing
also
3%
not be
more.
can we also not be naive and forget about the fact that the 49ers have had a tough year with health
Brock has
and
missed a couple
personal
games
issues
too, though.
Yes.
Brock's done that in one fewer
less
game.
Yeah, one less.
So he would have, a lot more.
He'd have 3,190.
And the 49ers
He'd have
the
another
49ers have
175
had a
Yeah, but
plethora of
300.
injuries and different things that they've dealt with. I mean, even personal things. They've had a lot of personal things go on this team.
Yeah. But the Jets have, I'm sure if we were to go through it, we can look at their injuries. They didn't have Breece Hall yesterday, their best player on offense. I doubt that they've been a clean bill. We're in week 14 of the NFL, is what I'm saying. The Niners, look, they barely had Christian McCaffrey, then Jordan Mason, his backup's on IR. I get it. Kittle's been in and out of the lineup. Ayuk's done for the year. Nick Bosa's hurt. Trent Williams is dealing with obvious tragedy.
Of course.
Debo, we know, has played through some stuff because he's had to miss a game or two, and he's had to and battle through stuff that is nagging him, and he was hospitalized.
And yet the Niners are still a top 5 offense in the NFL. The Jets are a bottom 5 offense in the NFL.
Correct. And all I'm saying is if you're going to entertain the idea, I'm not saying you, I'm saying anyone. If anyone is going, if you're going to entertain the idea of replacing Brock Purdy with Aaron Rodgers, to me, there needs to be a very significant reason why. And I don't know if this 3-10 Jets team that Rodgers is leading in more ways than one. He's not just the quarterback. He's also probably behind the scenes trying to make things happen in the way that he wants it to happen. If you're going to replace a young quarterback that took you to the Super Bowl, it better be with someone that's an upgrade. And I don't think Rodgers is an upgrade right now.
Yeah. And yet there's a Shanahanian precedent for replacing your good quarterback with someone you think is going to be better and isn't.
And Rodgers is not.
And you got to be careful because you can lose the locker room that way. These guys love Brock. I mean, does Debo like Brock Purdy?
He speaks very, very high. I mean, even like when we're just off camera talking about Brock as a human, yes, Debo has nothing but great things to say. I think they respect Brock in the sense that he stepped into that role and filled big shoes after just a very, to Nate's point, it felt like there was a carousel of quarterbacks with the 49ers for a while. They could not land on somebody. It's hard to click with a quarterback when you know that at any moment it could change. And Brock stepped into it. He did a great job. And I think even his leadership off the field and the way that he is with his team, they all seem to really love and respect him. So I do think it would be a huge culture shock to get rid of Brock.
And I think the Niners are having some culture issues. Like there's some things happening in there that maybe are contributing to what's happening on the field.
Yeah.
You know, you
can see it in the way that they play. It's not like they got significantly worse than last season. I mean, we know that the Super Bowl hangover is a real thing, and they put their bodies through a lot, and there's so many injuries, but they're just not clicking like they typically have been. And maybe that's a testament to the people that have been in and out because of injuries. It's been very impactful, but yeah, I mean, I think that they're just kind of in a slump right now, and I just don't think getting rid of Brock Purdy solves that problem.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And yet they're not out of the playoff hunt yet.
No.
Weirdly
enough.
The Seahawks did win, so they're kind of widening their
they're the NFC West, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has been the most confusing. I mean, it's like down to the wire even still, and I feel like none of those teams are like
nobody's out of it.
Nobody's out of it right now, but
Seahawks
also none of them are super convincingly like
no.
This team is solid. Like they're very inconsistent. The NFC West is very inconsistent, but still competitive because it's anyone's get at this point.
So if the Niners win out, they could make it. It's possible.
They've got I think they've got a couple of tough ones. I was talking with Debo about it. Bills they knew was going to be really tough. I actually on our show on Friday picked the 49ers to cover because I said this would be a really great opportunity for them to prove they've still got something there.
Did.
And I know, believe it or not, it was crazy game. But
Caleb Williams said we weren't very good.
Duh. There's
the
4 games left. Broncos, we're going to get into this as off-field goes on this week. Broncos playing the Colts. But BK, you want to talk about the college football playoffs, which have been set. Your thoughts on kind of how that shaped out?
I understand why Alabama fans are pissed and other fan bases that might be aggravated. If you're Alabama, don't lose at Oklahoma. Don't lose at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, cry me a river and shut up.
I talked to a friend who went to Ole Miss and they understood like Ole Miss had their chances and blew it. The SEC allows you to have bigger wins, but it also will magnify if you lose to crappy teams. You know, use a crappy team this year and Vandy's Vandy.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss fans understand that they blew it with some of their losses, but I think expanding the playoff has made things way more compelling. I understand the frustration with the way the championship games played out and the idea that like Clemson snuck in when maybe they weren't a playoff team, but that's what makes conference tournaments or conference championship type games, conference tournaments in basketball great because it does kind of upset the apple cart, but you're arguing over like spots 10, 11, and 12 versus undefeated teams not getting into that final 4 because their quarterback got hurt or because they didn't pass the eye test.
That was just last year, right?
Yeah, with Florida State.
Florida State. Yep.
And so I think that it's working, and I think that the folks that run all of the different bowls as well as the playoff committee understand that. There's a conversation we were just having upstairs in the office. Would they expand it to 16? Maybe, if enough.
If Alabama keeps bitching, yes, we'll have a 20-team playoff in the next 4 years.
Enough teams in the SEC and enough teams in the Big Ten complain because nobody else's complaints carry any weight. But if those 2 conferences complain, it will get expanded to 16, and that'll still be okay. But I like the way it's shaken out. I like the 12 teams that are in. I think it's cool that Boise's in. And,
shout out SMU.
And SMU.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. They're supposed to be your rival. They used to.
They are, but I actually
like if Missouri got in, I'd be like, I hope they lose by 100.
I like them. I like seeing SMU.
Okay, I get it.
Do some cool
well,
things.
Especially, and that's the cool thing too. We don't all love the way these conferences realign, but Arizona State in their first year in the Big 12, they win it.
Yeah, they
Texas
look
is in the
great.
SEC championship game. Certainly had a chance to win it. Obviously, that game goes to overtime. Oregon, first year in the Big Ten,
Mhm.
they won it.
Even the Buffs, what they did in
SMU
the regular
first year, yeah.
season.
Yeah.
in the
Now, what
Big
makes that
12.
one a little weirder is that they were in the Big 12 for so long, but still going to a new league and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
making the noise they did. And then hearing from Coach Prime that they're playing in that Alamo Bowl, and that may conflict with the Broncos game. We still don't know when the Broncos and Bengals play that weekend.
I've danced in the Alamo Bowl. It's a very fun bowl game.
Really?
Sidelines, yep. TCU played against, oh God, my memory's bad. Before I was on Showgirls, I think they played Oregon in like that was maybe the game that TCU came back like 40-0 at halftime or something and went ballistic. It was like
They won 47-41. They were down by 31 points. That's wild.
Wow.
it was
They were down
insane.
31-0 at the half.
No, it was
And
insane.
came back and won.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
they-
was the year before I was on the dance
They
team.
scored 17 in the third, 14 in the fourth, forced overtime, and then scored the
It was nuts.
winning
Wow.
touchdown to win 47-41.
But I've
in
danced at the Alamo
2015.
Bowl. Really, really fun being on the little river walk.
Yeah.
They do the band stuff. It's like a band battle. Very, very cool. But I don't do a ton of college football watching unless it's Big 12 stuff because I've got a brother that went to West Virginia, family ties in West Virginia, sister at Kansas State. I went to TCU. So Big 12 is kind of the conference I really focus on. But I will never forget when TCU made it all the way to the championship. And in my whole Twitter, you
From
guys
2
know
years
me.
ago?
You guys
You'll
know
never
me.
forget 2 years
Never
ago?
forget it. You know what, BK?
I'm never
know
gonna
what?
forget that Broncos
Get this
Browns
guy-
game.
You know what? I'll never
The
forget it.
rest of my life.
The Broncos Browns Monday night game.
But my point is that there were a ton of Michigan fans that were, and even Alabama fans that were in my notifications tweeting at me, if Michigan would have been in this, the championship game would have been so much better. If Alabama, yeah, there's probably truth to that. Then don't get beat by TCU, Michigan. I'm sorry. Is that not how it works? If
Yep.
you wanted to make the championship, you shouldn't have lost to TCU. It's that simple. Alabama, quit bitching. We're sick of hearing it. If you wanted to be in the playoffs, then win your games. It's that simple. Like, I will never understand the bitching, complaining. I'm pretty sure Alabama's bitching and complaining holds a little bit more weight than most. And they may be part of the reason that we expanded this thing to 12 instead of 4.
I'm not sure their complaining is going to. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Well, no. I'm just saying that they complain a lot about when it doesn't go their way because they're used to being this thriving, winning college football playoff team, whatever. We already expanded it to 12. You still fell short.
What's
So
the-
imagine if we were still at 4. They wouldn't even be close to being in conversation. So stop complaining. Win your football games. We're not going to expand it to 16, 20, 25, and 30 just because you keep slipping below the cusp. Just win your football games.
Here's what I do
It's that
think we're going to
simple.
see, though, and this is what's cool about the NIL world that we're in, and I understand people want to rein it in. It's a free market society. If you have an idea, you don't have to cap what someone gives you if they want to invest or buy your business. You get to just sell it for whatever you want. So the idea that you're going to put in salary caps, we'll see when that happens down the road. But right now, what's cool is that Alabama forever, and they're just the one that comes to mind, or Georgia or Texas, schools like that had all the great facilities and everything, had 4- and 5-star guys on the bench. Well, now guys just want to play.
Oh, my coffee's gone.
But that's going to allow not only schools like CU, but TCU or SMU or
Yeah.
Arizona State or Kansas, even stupid schools like Missouri and K-State, to go find kids, have money to pay them, and make them more competitive in their leagues and allow
Definitely.
them. So we're going to see a year where Ole Miss gets in. Vandy is redoing
when
the
are
way
we
that,
just
like,
going to have a situation where there's no sort of gray area as to they should have got in, they should have? How about just one big league like the NFL where your record dictates whether or not you win a division and then you get in? How far away is college football from creating a sort of giant pool of playoff worthy teams that are all in leagues and their win-loss record dictates?
I've always
whether or
found
not
it
they make it.
strange that around this time of the year, there's even conversations of will they or won't they.
Right.
I'm like, shouldn't we just know?
Yeah,
You're in,
that's
you're
what
out.
sports is supposed
And
to be.
when you
like,
have that gray
definitive
area,
answers.
then you have teams like Alabama that are like trying to make their case. It's like, this is a mathematical system, baby. Black and white. There's no gray area. You either make the playoffs or you don't. Like, I've always, every time I've been on social media and I've seen people being like, here's my prediction for who's making the playoffs. It's like, shouldn't it just be
Yeah,
you're in, you're out, and we should all know it? Like, that's where it gets tough. I love the expansion of 12 teams because, like BK's saying, it gives other schools an opportunity to feel like they have a fighting chance and they can invest more in their program and they can get a little bit more competitive. But the complaining and stuff around this time of the year, I did, however, feel very upset for Florida State last year.
yeah.
And the narrative that well, the team that brought them this far was with this quarterback. It's like,
Right.
well, don't punish the rest of them
Yeah.
because he got hurt. Like that kind of stuff, I don't agree with at all. But the complaining because you feel like, well, we lost to this team and they lost to that team. It's like, cry me a river, boo-hoo, you didn't win. Bye. Shush up.
Kind of a complaining world we live in, though.
course.
And the internet
I
is,
do it every
is
day
for
on the show.
complaining, right? But props to Arizona State getting the first round bye. And in a lot of preseason like media polls, they were last in the Big 12. They found a way to finish first and get that bye. Guys, it's great to be back with you.
It's so great.
On off field. That's our show, guys. Liv Moods, Brandon Krisztal. I'm Nate Jackson. We'll see you guys Wednesday. Have a great day. Bye. Fleek.